Hello and welcome to episode 134 of the Vegan Business Tribe podcast with myself, David Purnell. And Vegan Business Tribe is here to support you and to inspire you, not just to build a vegan business, but to build a successful vegan business. And you can listen along on Spotify, on Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts. And you can also watch the video version of this on YouTube too. And thank you as always to our amazing sponsors who you're going to hear a little bit more from in a moment. They are Vegan Accountants and Mad Promotions. Do go check them out. They are both just amazing vegan-owned companies who work with a lot of our members at Vegan Business Tribe, and they all give a lot back to the movement too. Now, you will know that last year in 2024, I went through the ProVeg Kickstarting For Good Business Incubator, which is a fully funded ProVeg initiative to help social impact entrepreneurs and not-for-profit organizations. And I recorded a video diary, just a short, 10-minute episodes as I went through the incubator, which I put out week by week in the Vegan Business Academy on our website at veganbusinesstribe.com. However, I've also been, bundling up the episodes into special omnibus editions for those of you just to follow the podcast instead of going through the website. And we are back with omnibus edition number 6. And this is the penultimate one. There is one more to go after this. So, to bring you up to date, in the last omnibus, I went through my final pitch deck, which I then submitted for the mid-program review to see if I made it to the final part of the program in the incubator, the all-important pitch day. So, in this omnibus, you find out if I got through or not. Now, there is one final omnibus episode after this one. But if you cannot stand the suspense, then you can watch all of my incubator video diaries in short 10-minute episodes on the Vegan Business Academy on our website. And that Vegan Business Academy also includes hundreds of hours of masterclasses and guides, workshop recordings and online courses. And we are funded by our membership. So if you want to help growing a successful vegan business while at the same time helping us to keep doing everything that we do, then please do consider going and sign up with us on veganbusinesstribe.com. Right, on to omnibus number 6. I have just got off the call and we're going back to Berlin. So I have got through to the second half of the incubator. And I'll tell you what, I had an interesting emotional response to this because I'd partially thought that if I didn't get through to the second half of the incubator, that would actually be absolutely fine because I could just go back to doing what I was doing before. I wouldn't have to be doing all these extra hours. And in some ways, it'd actually be a little bit of a relief. But now that I actually know that we've been accepted, that we've gotten to the second half, that we're going back, it's just amazing. That is brilliant. And it's also just a validation of what we're trying to do at Vegan Business Tribe. So yeah, I just want to share that with you. We are through to the second half. We are going to the second in-person part of the incubator in Berlin. And interestingly, Sebastian, who I've just got off a call with, he also suggested maybe going a week early to do a little bit of extra work as well. So there will be a little bit of a stipend to pay for some of the extra expenses for that. So that's something I'm going to try and look at. And also, if perhaps we can get Lisa and Arwen to come as well, that would be amazing. Because if we're going to have an hotel anyway, and flights aren't that expensive from where we are near Manchester to Berlin, so it would be great to bring them over and just make it a little bit of a family affair. So we just had the call. So I've gone through the pitch documents with Sebastian and Pakrit as well from the incubator. And in the hours leading up to it, I had lots of questions flowing in anyway. So I put the PDF online on Google Drive so that we could comment on it and ask questions. And I'd had lots of questions asked overnight on that PDF. So when I thought I'd be prepping to do the presentation, it wasn't a presentation, it was just a Q&A session. But when I thought I'd be prepping to do that, I was actually going through the PDF and answering all the questions that had been asked by the mentors of the incubator. So that gave me a little bit of a heads up of what those questions were going to be. So it allowed me to do that a little bit of extra preparation so I could have those answers at hand. And that was really, really useful. But in essence, yeah, they like it. And they've, over the weekend, been speaking to potential backers and investors about the various people on the incubator. And so they've had conversations about Vegan Business Tribe. And I was really pushing just to find out what that feedback was, because one of the main things I wanted to do with the incubator was to get validation about Vegan Business Tribe, that I'm not actually wasting my times and my skill set on building something that actually, I'd be better just forgetting about and doing something else with my time. But it was quite positive that the funders and the investors that they were talking to, they do indeed see a need for something like Vegan Business Tribe to actually support the vegan business sector. Their main questions were, is the way that we're looking to do it the right way? Is that going to actually get the best return? Is that going to get the most bang for the buck? Was the term that kept getting used. So for the money they put in, is that going to be getting the most impact out? If we do what we're looking to do with the learning pathways and with the sub-tribes and the community and everything else as well. So that was mainly what the questions were asking. I think I fielded them quite well. I think I had answers to pretty much every question that was asked, and I got some good questions back in myself in return. But yeah, that was quite an intense experience. But I felt I was ready for it as well. So that's great. So yeah. So we're through, which means the good news for you is this incubator diary will continue. You will come back to Berlin with me. You will see what happens in the second half. And the second half includes a pitch day where we will be making a pitch to potential funders, backers, investors, people who might want to get involved with our organisations as well. So that's going to be really exciting. The big question now, however, is does Vegan Business Tribe continue as a for-profit organisation, which we are at the moment? We are just a standard limited company. Or do we continue as a not-for-profit organisation? And this has been the question since day one with Vegan Business Tribe getting onto this incubator. So the conversation is that there is pros and cons about this. And my next job is to go away and make a list of those pros and cons and try and work this one out myself. But basically, if we are a for-profit organisation, then anything that we build as Vegan Business Tribe, it stays the property of myself and Lisa. And if it becomes really successful and makes a lot of money, then that's great. That's our business. We can sell it. We can take as much money out of it as we want. We can do with it what we want. We can take it in any direction that we want. And that's got a lot of benefits as well. However, getting backing for a for-profit organisation isn't the same as a not-for-profit, because basically what we'd be asking people to do is to put money into our business so that we can grow our business and then reap the benefits of having a successful business. Whereas if you've got a not-for-profit, what you're actually asking people to do is to give a donation for you to build a cause. So it's harder to actually get money as a for-profit, and that has to be an investment. So it's probably going to be, maybe it'd be a no or low interest loan that we'd have to pay back. Maybe it'd be somebody wanting to put money into Vegan Business Tribe for us to grow, but they'd want to take an interest in Vegan Business Tribe. They'd want to take part ownership of it as well. So it's a really different conversation. Whereas if we were to become a not-for-profit organisation, then that investment, it can be a donation, or it can be just somebody wanting to philanthropically back what we do. So it would probably be easier to raise money as a not-for-profit. However, you've then got the very real question that funding in the not-for-profit world is limited. There is a limited pot of money to go around. And if we are looking to take money out of that pot, that means that another organisation, another cause, isn't getting that funding from that person or from that institute. So that's something we have to be really mindful of. If we can create Vegan Business Tribe as something that doesn't need a lot of money to get going, but it brings in its own revenue, it becomes self-funding, then that's putting less of a pressure on the not-for-profit funding pot. However, if we become part of that, we have to be really confident in what we're doing. We have to make sure that any money we are taking from that funding pot is really delivering an impact. And that means being a lot more accountable. It means having a board of members, which I probably, as the CEO of Vegan Business Tribe, wouldn't be sitting on myself. So it means that it's not quite ours anymore. It becomes more of a collective. But that's what Vegan Business Tribe always kind of has been. Although, myself and Lisa, we run Vegan Business Tribe, it's always been our members' organisation. So it probably wouldn't mean perceptively that'd be that much of a change. It just means that legally and that administratively, it would be a very different kind of structure. So I now need to work that out. To answer that conversation, one of the things I've just done is I've sent the PDF off to a few people who I know who are investors and who do back organisations, just to ask them what their opinion is. Would they be interested in backing Vegan Business Tribe if we remained a for-profit organisation? Or to them, would we have to be a charity or a not-for-profit for them to put a little bit of money into it? So I think I'll wait and see what kind of response I get from that before making a decision, but it's a decision that we have to make quite quickly. For profit or not for profit? If you've got any ideas, let me know. But I'll see you in Berlin. I've been thinking that I should try and get some corporate sponsorship from these video diaries. The amount of times I've recorded these outside Starbucks, so I've mentioned Starbucks in these diaries, but I'm here again, going to work at Starbucks for the evening. And the last video diary that I released, it was where I was announcing that we are going back to Berlin for the second half of the incubator, which is wonderful news. And I'm going to be bringing you with me as well. But I actually recorded that video probably about week and a half, maybe even 2 weeks ago, because I've been under an embargo to release that video. So I had to hold on until they'd actually spoken to everybody on the incubator and announced who was going through and who wasn't, just so that those announcements came through the official channels rather than me blabbing about it on YouTube and telling everybody early. And that means over the last couple of weeks, there's been a little bit of a lull in activity on the incubator, which has actually been a welcome lull as well. It's allowed me to do a little bit of catch up. And so today has been really nice. It's Sunday today, and I've spent the day with both my daughters. And now, so I've mentioned a few times Arwen on this video diary, who is mine and Lisa's 18-month-old daughter, but I've got older children as well. So I spent time today with my eldest, Daisy, who is 20, and we've been to the park all together with Daisy and Arwen, and that's been a lovely way to spend a day. I've spent quite a lot of time this last week or two with my son, James, as well. So James is currently applying to go to university, so I've been going to a couple of university open weekends with him. We've gone to the cinema a few times, and he is studying film studies and classics, so it always ties in going for a cinema trip with James as well. So this last couple of weeks, it's mean that I've had a little bit of a catch up. I've spent some time with the family. I've caught up with a lot of my Vegan Business Tribe day-to-day work, content creation. I do other consultancy work as well, so it's given me a chance to catch up with that. So it's been really good just to have this little bit of a breathing space in the middle of the incubator. Now we are back to it, though. So this current stage of the incubator, it's the online stage. So in between now and when we go back to Berlin, we've got about 2 lectures a week online on Zoom with some really, just brilliant experts in the vegan scene and the not-for-profit scene as well. So I'm going to start attending those from this week, which will be really useful. I'll probably, on the next session, when I've got my laptop with me, go through who's giving us lectures and just talk about some of those people, so you can go look them up, maybe link with them, maybe look at some of the lectures they've done before, because I'm sure they're going to be really, really useful. Just the calibre of the people that they've got involved with this Kickstarting for Good incubator has been phenomenal, so I don't expect that to change anytime soon. Another thing I should really announce is I mentioned there that we are going back to Berlin, and by we I mean me, and you are coming with me through these video diaries. But Lisa and Arwen are going to come to Berlin with me too, because there is the option for the second half of the incubator to extend your time in Berlin so that you're going to be there for 2 weeks instead of 1. And this time that extension is going a week early. So what we've done is we found a very nice Airbnb in Berlin. And, the cost of 2 people staying in a hotel these days is pretty much the same as the cost of 1 person. So Lisa and Arwen are going to come with me this time, which is wonderful news, because the last time I went to Berlin for the first half of the incubator, It was quite emotionally hard leaving Lisa and Arwen at home and not seeing them because, I work from home. Lisa works from home. Arwen is at home. She's not in nursery. Lisa is looking after her. And so we spend almost 24 hours a day together, apart from when I come here to Starbucks. And so leaving them for a week and a half last time was an incredibly difficult thing to do. So the fact they're going to come with me this time is absolutely wonderful. But it's also us testing out something as well. I mean, if you look at why we built something like Vegan Business Tribe, we wanted to have a bit more freedom with how we earned and our work. And one thing that we are incredibly keen to do is to homeschool Arwen. Now, the reason for that is animal agriculture and animal agriculture propaganda. That has absolutely permeated early years education, with Old MacDonald and Baa Black Sheep. When the actual, health visitor first came to visit us after Arwen was born, she gave us a book called Down on the Farm. And on the front cover of this book was this lovely happy cow and this pig and these little fluffy chicks. And so I actually gave that book back to the health visitor and I said, no, thank you. And she said, well, no, this is free. I'm giving these out to all the children in the area. And I said, okay, well, let's take a look at this book. So on this front cover, you've got a pig. That pig is going to be killed at probably 6 months old to be made into meat and bacon. Then you've got a cow. That cow is probably going to live to 3 years old in the dairy industry before it's killed and then replaced by one of its daughters. And this baby chick on the front cover of a book, that's going to be killed likely at 1 day old, especially if it's a male chick. So unless this children's book talks about that and says this is the reality of farming, my daughter's not going to be reading it. And that's quite a thing to say to the health visitor. But she was shocked because she'd never thought about it like that. And she actually went back to our local council and said, should we be giving this kind of stuff out? Because this is painting this unreal reality of what happens on farms. So that was a little bit of a vegan win. But that kind of animal propaganda and that animal agriculture propaganda, that continues through early years education into the school system. Painting this picture that happy animals living on the farm. And we don't want that. I don't want Arwen to be exposed to animal agriculture propaganda until she is ready to defend herself against it. And so that means that would be incredibly difficult to put her through the nursery system. It'd be incredibly difficult to put her through early years school system. So we're going to try and homeschool Arwen ourselves. And the upside of doing that and having a business like Vegan Business Tribe, which we run online, means that if we do want to relocate ourselves to somewhere else, almost at the drop of a hat, we can. Because Arwen will still be able to learn and do her schooling wherever we are. Lisa is already getting the curriculum together of what Arwen's going to be learning. I can still work online. So we thought going to Berlin, this would be quite an easy way to test out the start of that lifestyle of being able to just go to different places and work from different places, without having some of those ties. So that's what we're going to do as well. But brilliant that Lisa and Arwen is going to join me. It's going to make my time there probably easier. Again, having an 18-month-old, that could be distracting, but I'm going to be at the incubator. Lisa's going to be exploring Berlin with Arwen. And between us both, we'll be meeting up and spending some time together as well. So that's absolutely wonderful news. So I'm going to head now into Starbucks to do a little bit of catch-up and planning work this evening. I do actually usually work Sundays. And before you have a go at me for neglecting my family, what I tend to do is I swap out Fridays for Sundays. So quite often I will spend Fridays or sometimes Thursdays with Arwen and with Lisa, and then work Sundays instead, because I always find that Sundays are just a lot more productive. No one's really sending you messages, so it's a lot more easy to concentrate and be focused. And if somebody does send you an email or a message, they're not really expecting a reply because, well, it's a Sunday. And if you email somebody, they don't email straight back because they're not usually at their desk because it's a Sunday. So, that's one of my kind of productivity hacks is kind of swap out Sunday, which can be a really productive day for maybe one of the weekdays like Friday. And nobody really wants to work Friday anyway, just to be a little bit more productive. Right, so I'll wrap that one up. Fairly short, fairly sweet, as always. Yeah. And that's it. I don't know what I'll talk about on the next one. I need to talk about, in fact, that's what I'm going to go in and do now, is looking at Vegan Business Tribe is going to remain a for-profit organisation or not-for-profit. I'm going to go do my pros and cons list now. That's why I came here, actually. I've completely forgotten. I might talk a bit about the online sessions that we're going through over the next couple of weeks, just outlining what they are. And maybe talk a bit about collaboration as well. I won't go into that now, but I've been having a few thoughts about more collaboration. There's a lot of people trying to champion different aspects of a vegan business scene, and maybe it's time for us to Avengers-like come together to solve that problem. Vegans assemble. Okay, right. I'm going to go in, get a coffee, do some magic. Now, my idea originally was I was just going to record one video diary talking about some of the online sessions that we've been doing. But actually, they've been really good. And I know I shouldn't sound surprised at that because everything on the incubator has been good so far. But I thought it was worthwhile just highlighting one or two of the online sessions that we've been having during this online section of the incubator and talking about those in a little bit more detail, just as short videos. Because we've been having maybe 2 or 3 of these sessions a week, and each one's been with a different expert, it's been on a different topic, it's been part seminar, part Q&A, and they've just been really useful as well. And the first one I wanted to highlight was a seminar we had on monitoring and evaluation with Nicole Paracha from the Mission Motor. Now, if you've got any interest at all about measuring what impact you have as a business or an organisation, do go look up this organisation, themissionmotor.org, because this term is one that I've only just become familiar with now that we're working in this sector. And it's the term Monitor, Evaluation and Learn, or MEL, M-E-L. And you might have also heard of things like continuous improvement or key performance indicators that maybe I'd be more familiar with from my commercial background. But the idea of Monitor, Evaluation and Learn, or MEL, is as an organisation that is creating a positive impact in the world, you've got to be able to prove that impact. And you've got to be able to monitor and evaluate that you are actually being cost effective with the work that you're doing, that you are actually making the difference that you think you're going to make. And that's really important as well. If your organisation relies on other people to fund or back you to make that difference in the world too, you need to be able to actually show them the statistics of this. And the Mission Motor organisation, they only work within the animal and vegan advocacy community, helping organisations actually implement MEL, or Monitor, Evaluation and Learn. So Nicole, she had some brilliant frameworks to do this. Now, I'm not going to share those actual frameworks because I suspect that's their IP. And so, if you are interested in learning more, do go and interact with them direct. But one concept that they talked about was this idea of counterfactual impact. And that means what would actually happen if you weren't there? So if your business wasn't doing what you're doing to solve the problem that you're trying to solve, would that problem just solve itself anyway? Or would that problem just go away? Or would it improve by what else is happening in the world anyway? And so being able to prove the counterfactual impact, or rather being able to prove that it's your intervention which is making a difference, that's really important too. It's not good enough just to say, look, we've done all this work and look at the improvement that we've made. You need to prove that that improvement wouldn't have happened without you as well. So having a really strong MEL in place, Monitor, Evaluation and Learn, that's really important as well if you're trying to get backers and funders to show that what you're doing, your intervention, is actually making a difference in the world. And I thought that was really interesting because that's not something I've really thought about before, actually proving that without Vegan Business Tribe, the vegan business scene wouldn't be having the same impact. It wouldn't be having the same championing that we're doing. So that's something that we need to implement as well. But going to that point, it's not just about what you're doing, because it's not just about being busy, because I could, and sometimes I do, I could get up at the break of dawn every morning and be hammering away on the computer and being on LinkedIn and sending out the email marketing that we're doing and creating content and everything else as well. But that's no use if it's actually not making a change. And there's this difference between output and actual impact. And that's something that you really have to monitor as well. And Nicole, she showed this really nice cartoon actually, where it had a meeting of ghosts. And the team leader was saying, I've got it here, the team leader was saying, remember team, the number of times that you say boo, that's just an output. Our desired outcome is striking fear into the hearts of the living. And that's really important as well, because I think sometimes as businesses especially, we do fall foul of just being busy for being busy's sake. So we can say, yeah, look, we've done all these great things. I've sent these 100 emails today. Yes, but what kind of outcome have you had from that? Have you actually moved the vegan cause forwards? Have you actually, improved the lives of the people that you're trying to improve? So that was really interesting as well. And I think the final point that Nicole was making was about the cost effectiveness of that. You need to be able to say to people, look, for every dollar, pound, euro put into this organisation, we are creating X amount of goodness in the world, X amount of impact. And that's really hard thing to do as well. And sometimes you can't give an accurate figure on that. Now, in some businesses, you can. You have the facts, and a little bit of Vegan Business Tribe. We can prove it a little bit by how many people we have signing up with us, how many people we actually reach as Vegan Business Tribe. But there's other forms of impact that are really hard to implement as well. And I had this conversation just this week with two of our Vegan Business Tribe members, and they're online YouTubers, they're influencers, and it's like, well, how do you actually prove the impact of that? And what Nicole was saying in her seminar was sometimes that has to be a guesstimate. Sometimes you've got to get creative. You've got to come up with ways of actually working out what impact you are making in the world. What change is the all the different interventions you are doing, all your activity. How can you actually measure that change? And this is a question which I had to ask ourselves about Vegan Business Tribe right back at the start of the incubator. And I actually did a video diary about this as well. And our solution to it was actually having an impact tracker for our members. So when people join us, they fill out this impact tracker about where they are as a business, what they're looking to do, how they're looking to grow. And then as they move throughout Vegan Business Tribe, they keep that tracker up to date, and we can see what an impact we're having on vegan businesses. So that's likely the way that we're going to do it at Vegan Business Tribe. But how are you going to do it for your business? Who knows? It's going to be back of a fag packet, as we used to say in the UK, back of an envelope kind of calculations to work some of that out. But you need that. You need more than just hearsay to be able to say to people who are maybe going to back your business, this is the change that I am making in the world. I've put this hat on to try and fool you that I'm making this video on a different day, and I'm not. I literally just pressed stop on the last video and I'm making another one. But you're not supposed to do that with video diaries. So I know I'm fooling nobody. But this hat, however, can you see this? This is absolutely amazing hat. This is by one of our Vegan Business Tribe members, Little Green Pigeon, or Pigeon Sue, as lots of people know, Sue Joyce, who makes these. And they do pigeon merch. So if you are a pigeon lover, as myself and Lisa are, we absolutely love pigeons. We actually looked after a couple for a while that were rescue pigeons that turned up on our balcony. So we absolutely love pigeons ourselves. But if you love pigeons too, do go check out Little Green Pigeon, and you can buy wonderful merch just like this. Anyway, the reason I've come... I know, it all makes sense in a minute. But the reason I've come back on is I'm talking about the online sessions that we've been having on the incubator over the last few weeks. And originally I was going to make one video talking about all the different online sessions, but the content's been so good that I'm breaking them down into separate videos just to highlight a couple of the online sessions. I'm not going to do this for each one. But another session I wanted to talk about was one that was given to us by James Osden. Now, James works for Mobius Philanthropy, a word which I struggle to say, but I have to say it a lot at the moment. So James works for Mobius Philanthropy, which is an organisation that backs other organisations working in the farmed animal movement, so farmed animal advocacy. And he did a session with us about what actually funders are looking for from organisations. And that was really, really useful as well, because these are sort of the questions that you always want to ask, but you never know if you can. And so he gave us a very good sort of hour-long session on his background. And James had built his own not-for-profit charity. He grew that, and then he went to work for one of the backers, I believe, one of the backers that was backing his charity, to actually help other people get backing. And so he has lots of organisations coming to him all the time with a funding requirement. And part of his job is sorting through those, putting some of those forward. So he's somebody who really knows what he's talking about when he knows what funders are looking for. And one of the big points that he made is that there is no kind of formula for this. All funders value different things and are looking for different things. A lot of that is personal fit. A lot of that is their background. What are they interested in backing personally? Because a lot of these funds, they are set up by single wealthy individuals who are looking to give back. And so it's their money and they can do what they want with it. And so a lot of the time, it's down to what they're actually looking to do, what they've got a connection with. So that's really interesting to know, that you could go to one funder and they'd say, well, these things are really important, this is what I value. But you could go to another funder or backer and they might be looking for something completely different. So that's something always to keep bearing in mind. A lot of the time, though, the funders are really looking to get value for money. So we've talked about cost effectiveness a few times. So they want to know, if I'm going to put X amount of money into this business or this organisation, what impact is that going to make in the world? What positive change is that going to create? So they're looking for this compelling route to making large impact. So even if you're not at the point at the moment where you can make a massive impact with your business or organisation, they're looking for that future potential for that. And maybe by putting some money into what you're doing, that's going to help you get to that point. One thing they're also looking at is who else is backing this sort of area. So are there other organisations trying to solve the same problem as you are, or is that completely neglected and needs somebody to step up and do the work that you're doing? So that's something to highlight as well. If there's nobody else trying to solve this problem, first of all, is that because the problem doesn't really need solving? But secondly, are you in a really unique place to make a change happen that wouldn't happen without you doing this? And in the last video I made, I talked about this term counterfactual, and this comes to play as well. So if these people don't back you, so if you go to one of these funds asking for backing and they just say no, who else is going to back you? What's going to actually happen to your organisation? And that might not be actually somebody coming forwards and backing you instead of them. It might be that you can find that income somewhere else, because, you know, it's not an infinite pot, especially in veganism and animal rights. The amount of backers, the amount of people who are willing to, have got the funds to put money into organisation, that's quite a small pot. So if there is an alternative for you going and finding that money and that backing, then that's something that they'll maybe push you towards to do as well. So that was really, you know, interesting insight. And we asked quite a lot of questions of James, because we had him for 40 minutes. And one of the questions I asked him about was about how many people in a team do they like to see? Because with Vegan Business Tribe, it's myself and Lisa. But my wife, Lisa, she has taken a step back from the limelight this last year after the birth of our daughter, Arwen. So I wanted to know if these funds liked to see teams of people, or did they invest in just single people, so a single co-founder, single founders of a business or organisation. And he said that, yes, they do like to see a team. They like to see at least 2 people in an organisation, because, you know, you need somebody to talk to. You need somebody to share your tasks with. And I think the impact that one person can have on their own is quite limited. So if you are a solo entrepreneur, or if you are a single founder of your business, that's something to really take notice of. Perhaps you are going to have more impact, and perhaps you are going to grow quicker if you can go find somebody to build a business or organisation alongside or with, to work with as either co-founders or at least collaborating on things as well. And especially if you are looking to get if you are looking to get backing and you are looking to get funding, that's something that might be really important. Not just having one person trying to implement all the stuff you're trying to do, showing that you've got at least two people or a team, that can make a big difference as well. One of the questions that I also asked, which again is a question that you never really want to put forward, is how much? How much? If you're going to one of these funds, or if you're going to someone to actually back your business, how much money can you actually ask for? And this was quite enlightening as well, because the first thing he actually came back and said, before he answered the question, was one thing you have to actually consider is your salary that you're proposing for yourself. So if you're asking for funding to actually fund your business or organisation for 12 months, a big part of that is going to be the salary of you and maybe your co-founder as well. So is that a reasonable term of money that is that a reasonable amount of money that you're asking for a 12-month period? And initially I thought he was saying, don't ask for too much because you're going to be seen as being greedy. But it's kind of the opposite. What they were really looking for is, are you actually asking for a reasonable salary so that you're actually going to be able to survive that year, so that you're not going to burn out, so you're actually going to be able to actually make some impact? And he said that when he started his not-for-profit organisation, the donor and the funders who actually put in money into what he was doing, they came back to him and said, no, you've got to raise your salary. It's going to be almost impossible to live on what you've proposed here. So come back to us with a larger salary, something that actually you are going to be able to live on for a year, and then let's have the conversation again. So that was fascinating. But he did come up with a figure as well. Most people come and ask for about £100,000. Maybe if you've got a larger team, or if you've got two people, £200,000 or £200,000 or dollars would probably be the expected ask. But that is still a big ask. Now, most of these donors, they are at capacity. They are already funding people. They've already put aside how much money they're going to invest a year in all these different businesses and organisations, and most of them are already doing that. So, coming to one of these people and asking them for 100 grand, yeah, that's still quite a lump of change that you're asking for as well. So it might be that instead you can ask for a much smaller amount and use that smaller amount to actually give you evidence. So you might be able to go to somebody who is a fund and say, I probably need 100,000 to do this over a year. But if you could give me something like 5,000, maybe 10 or 15,000, I can use that to actually prove what we're trying to do, to prove this initiative. And so I can use that to go and actually run some tests to create my minimal viable product. And then I can come back in 6 to 12 months' time and actually show you the evidence. And then we all know going into this together that it's less of a risk because I've already proven to you what we're trying to do. And that's an interesting way to take it as well. Actually, instead of saying, I need 100 grand and I want you to give it to me, you can go in and say, we need 100 grand, but to run a pilot, we only need about 10. And that might be actually a way to start a relationship with a backer or funder that's a little bit easier than trying to start that whole relationship asking for that top money. So great. The final point he made actually was on that, was on being, really cost effective and being lean, even though he's talking about making sure that you are paying yourself a reasonable salary. The less money that you're asking for, the better, because then you can go with just one donor who might be able to cover that full amount. If you do need that 100,000 or higher, you're likely going to have to go to 2 or 3 different people, and they might not all want to work together. They might all be wanting completely different things from you, for putting that money in. So if you can just work with one mission-aligned backer, that's going to make a lot of difference as well. So sometimes going in, asking for less, but being able to work with just one person who you really want to work with, that's better than going out there and having to, crowdfund 10, 20 different backers to reach that amount that you think you need. So again, really useful information, really, kind of hands-on practical learning that's been a massive help for what we're trying to do at Vegan Business Tribe as well. And so if you are out there looking for funding and backing, hopefully that's worthwhile for you too. Now, am I going to take this just hat off and maybe change my shirt? to do another one of these. Maybe, maybe not. And in the next and final omnibus, you will return with me to Berlin for the final part of the incubator program, including that all-important pitch day. Yes, how do you bear the suspense? And if you can't wait until then you can go and watch all my video diaries for the ProVeg Kickstarting For Good Incubator over on YouTube, or take a look in the Vegan Business Academy at veganbusinesstribe.com. And if you want to surround yourself with more people who are on the same mission as you are, then please do come sign up with us at Vegan Business Tribe. We have got members from all over the world, and you get access to all our content, our courses, our online meetups and events, but also you get access to the most amazing community of vegan entrepreneurs that you will find anywhere in the world. But being a member, it's also how you can help support the work that we do to help vegan entrepreneurs skill up and scale up so that they can have a bigger impact on the world too. Okay, so watch out for the final omnibus number 7, coming in the next episode, and I'll see you on the next one.